Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6 sense for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chains. Can't control me. I got the power, I got the keys, cause I break the chains. They try to hold me, I'ma push back, just wait and you'll see. Please excuse me, your honor, but you can't hold me no longer. Can't you feel the vibrations? I broke out and left traces. Go ahead, try to catch me if you can, man. You'll be looking all night, I'm the Sandman. New York, London to Japan. I'ma show the whole world who I am. Boom, boom, boom. Major look.
Once again, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to, come on, man, chill. Once again, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to World Combat Sports. Good morning, everyone. I know it's just on the doorstep of the afternoon. Shout out to the ones in the workforce out there getting it in, providing for themselves and their families, loved ones. Salute to the ones who support World Combat Sports each and every time I'm on the stream. I appreciate you. Appreciate your input. This is not going to be a complex live, you know what I'm saying, like the one yesterday. But if you decide to step in, right, just hit the like button, share the content, and pass the word to sub to the channel. If you haven't already heard, Terrence Crawford, Sean Porter, go on the purse bid at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The number one welterweight in the sport right now, and one of the top pound-for-pound boxers in the game, is indeed one step closer to fighting Showtime Sean Porter. I definitely want to get your take on this, their fight fans, on what you, how you look at this fight, how you rate it. Is it a fight you want to see? And if you do want to see it, what does either fighter have to gain by fighting one another? And especially Terrence Crawford being top 3 pound for pound, 37 victories, 0 defeats, 28 knockouts, y'all. Come on, man. Come on. He last stepped in the ring just a little bit. I say about 3 months after Sean Porter. Terrence Crawford was in the ring against Kell Brook November 14, 2020. And I think Sean Porter's last fight was August 2020. All right. I believe he stepped in there with Sebastian Formello or whatever, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, Sean Porter's sitting at 31-3-1, 17 knockouts. Yeah, he last stepped in there August 2020. So they have him on the schedule with BoxRec at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, Las Vegas. Sean Porter will be challenging for the World Boxing Organization World Welterweight title, currently in the hands of reigning, defending Terrence Crawford, who holds the WBO World Welterweight title for quite some time now. And let it be known that Terrence Crawford Not only did he fight for a championship, his first fight, when contending at the welterweight division, he has went on to stop every opponent that he's faced at the 140-pound limit, 147-pound limit. He's did it. I wouldn't say it was easy, but he did it, and he made it look some type of way. So salute to Bud Crawford, who is absolutely, deserving of his top pound for pound status. And also he's deserving of being the number one welterweight in that division. It's not all about the belts, per se, in this case. It's all about the body of work that you've been able to put together. Like I tell people all the time, boxing will never have at least about the top 5 or 10 straight up killers in every division. All right. It's not going to happen that way. So you're going to have resumes that are always subject to scrutiny. And it gives us a little bit more to talk about when we come on here and do a live about who a fighter is fighting. In life itself, you just don't have individuals that are killers that's competing in boxing, and we have a murderer's row of fighters for these top elite fighters to contend with. It just don't happen. So I know that people can say what they want about Terrence Crawford resume. You know what I'm saying? But then again, you can turn that over and critique Sean Porter's resume. I always look at life in general. When you're learning something, it's good to learn something that expands outside a single topic or a single dimension, single sport. If you are competing in a sport and you are a multi-division champion, then I will look at that multi-division champion as somebody that has done a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? They have sit up here and achieved more accolades than the person that is a single division champion. You know what I'm saying? Don't matter if they're a multiple division champion in that division. I mean, a multiple title holder in that division. I just look at it in this scenario right here. Terrence Crawford has did more than Sean Porter. Now, how it's going to play out? Where do we want to see these individuals fight? That is the big question, because just like Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos went the purse bid, and Triller was supposed to hold this fight down, Triller might very well be in the purse bid running today. They talking about Matchroom potentially, but Matchroom, I don't think they was bidding too high on the Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. Do they have some skin in the game to place interest on Terrence Crawford, Sean Porter? Are they going to come with a vengeance to say, hey, this is a fight. We want this fight. We need this attention. Let's try our best to get Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter. If you're in the building, man, drop in, put your comments and let me know what you're thinking. Everything boxing and sports in the building. Salute, man. What's good with you? Y'all be damn sure to check out my man Keon. To be laying down that heat. Just subscribe to his channel. Hit the bell icon so you can get his notifications and check him out when he come on deck, man, and talk his shit. That there he go talking that boxing again. And I know he's interested in this topic. Where might we see Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter landing from this purse bid? And will it be a purse bid that brings, that spark of attention like Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos did? Will we get some drama? Will we get some suspense? You know what I'm saying? Will we have intrigue with this purse bid? Is it going to be something special? Because if Triller gets it, we already know that shit is going to be the Wild Wild West on however they promote it. And then Matchroom, they're going to be a bit cleaner than Triller. You know what I'm saying? People are going to respect it a little bit more. Oh, Matchroom, all right, cool. You know, um, I'm looking forward to see this because all that speculation about where Crawford is going to sign. His contract was going to expire. Very very soon next month. It's just it's a lot of back and forth assumptions that's going on. Will Top Rank be able to put up enough money to be the front runners in this purse bid? Does Top Rank need to win this purse bid, man, to save face somehow, some way? Because if they go into a purse bid and lose for a second time, then people are gonna be looking at them like, God damn. Their own fighters are gonna be like, shit, I know I'm going to purse bid. If Top Rank doesn't win this purse bid and their fighters are, as a result, are set to make more money, I don't have to tell you how to finish this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Top Rank has to come through on this one. I'm not sure they are. You know what I'm saying? But, due to the backstory on how Bob Arum was sitting up there excoriating Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford saying what he said about Bob Arum, I think it was a fine line of a lack of professionalism and disrespect, from promotion to the fighter, more so. And I just look at it like Terrence Crawford still has a window of hope to clean up, who he signed with to get some big fights on the back end of his career. The man is 37-0, y'all. So we definitely looking forward to Terrence Crawford to have big fights. I can't say for the rest of his career he's going to have nothing but big fights, but Sean Porter is a reputable name to step in there with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford fighting Sean Porter will wager much more attention than him stepping in there with Kell Brook, because a lot of us, including myself, believe Sean Porter still has a competitive edge about him. He's still sharp enough to go in there and give Terrence Crawford a competitive challenge, to his world boxing organization title. But our curiosity is, who's going to win this purse bid? I'm at a point right now where I just want to see the right promotion get a hold of this fight. I want to see both fighters promoted correctly so it can pique our attention to come out here and talk about it. I just want something positive to come from this situation right here. It's important. It's imperative that something positive come from this purse bid. I'm not saying if Triller wins the purse bid, the fight's not going to happen. I'm saying both of these fighters need a clean promo, because they are two competitive, top-tier, elite welterweights in the sport. And it would be good to see them get some good promo, talk their shit, and go in there and perform. It's a lot of people been waiting for Terrence Crawford to fight another common opponent of Errol Spence. This is that guy, man. The reason why Showtime Sean Porter is that guy to step in there and people respect this matchup is simply how he performed in every fight he lost. And I'm not being facetious. How Sean Porter performed in every fight he lost, and how he performed most notably when he went in there to defend his WBC crown against Errol Spence Jr. Sean Porter brought the pain, man. He brought us excitement. Errol Spence brought us excitement. The match itself, everything about it It lived up to the expectations and then some. You know, it had the climactic moment in the championship rounds where Errol Spence caught him with a left hook, and Sean Porter, he almost like, look, the lights flickered, y'all. I'm always talking about that low wattage bulb. The lights flickered on Sean Porter, just enough his glove to touch the canvas and earn that knockdown. If it wasn't for the knockdown, how would the scorecards would have wagered in that fight? What would have happened? It potentially either could have been a draw, or it could have went the other way with Sean Porter. And then potentially we could have seen a rematch between Sean Porter and Errol Spence Jr. if that shit would have been a draw. So gassing this forward to Terrence Crawford. Listen, Terrence Crawford, 3-division champion, formerly junior welterweight undisputed. His record is unblemished. You know what I'm saying? His record is unblemished. That means he hasn't been in there with the big names at welterweight like Sean Porter. You know, Sean Porter has also been in there with Kell Brook, who is a common opponent between these two guys. Terrence Crawford more recently defeated Kell Brook in 4 rounds. Moving forward, you know, you look at his fight with Keith Thurman. You look at his fight with Danny Garcia. You look at his fight with Errol Spence. I mean, you just look at the big fights that Sean Porter has been a part of. You know what I'm saying? And most notable, people are going to look at him for the Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence. Keith Thurman was formerly unified at welterweight division. Errol Spence walking in there. Check this out. Errol Spence walking in there as one of the top pound for pound welterweights and considerably one of the top tier welterweights in the sport. He walked in there against Sean Porter, belt for belt. Errol Spence was the reigning defending IBF world champion, and Sean Porter was the WBC reigning defending world champion. So this fight right here, it lives up to everything. Because exclude Kell Brook, all right, Keith Thurman has never stepped in the ring with Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence has never stepped in the ring with Terrence Crawford. So at this juncture in his career, Terrence Crawford is able to fight another top tier, you know, because Kell Brook at one time was a world champion in welterweight, right? Terrence Crawford gets the opportunity to step in there with a common opponent, a second common opponent of Errol Spence, which people respect a bit more right now, in Showtime Sean Porter. I like this matchup, bro. Sir Ken in the building. What's good with you, Sir Ken? World Combat Sports salute. Salute to the wrenches and salute to the chat. Smash the like button. Appreciate you, Sir Ken. Hopefully everything is going well out there, man, with Sir Ken, man. Q the God in the building. Salute. What's good, family? How you feeling, man? So as we speak right now, the purse bid has commenced, y'all. The purse bid has indeed commenced as we know it. So, this purse bid will be held at the WB offices in San Juan. Okay. It will be transmitted live via WBO's Facebook page. So, let me take y'all over to the WBO's page, and hopefully we can see what's popping over there. And please drop your comments. Yeah, we back. So, um, I look at it like this, right? With Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter, I really, I really look at this as being possibly an end of 2022, possibly, but I doubt it. One of the champions are going to fight each other. One of them. Like, of course, we have to wait and see what happens between Crawford and Porter. Let's say Crawford beats Porter, right? Being that Errol Spence is out the game right now, will he have the opportunity to step in there with Ugas? That would be great, because initially I put that out there. It'd be great for them to go into Undisputed with Terrence Crawford having the WBO and the WBA title, and Errol Spence having the WBC and the IBF title. We won't have to fight about percentages no more. We definitely won't. It'll look good for the audience. You know, the butts that we're looking to put in the seat from the promo. And also it looked good for boxing and the promoters to have something to brag about. You know what I'm saying? Both fighters, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, you know, they could potentially, I don't see happening 22 because, you know, they say Spence might be out for a year. But sometime in 23, you know what I'm saying, if I'm not in hospice care, we might be able to see that fight, man. Seriously, we might be able to see that fight right there. And I would more so like it to be with both champions owning 2 titles apiece. So we won't be talking about no 60-40, shawty. You know what I'm saying? No 70-30. You know what I'm saying? We're not making about freaking percentages and freaking pennies. Y'all come in there with 2 belts apiece. That should draw the line down the middle so we can make this welterweight undisputed fight that we've been fantasizing about for years. Mark say, WCS, are you talking? I was talking to somebody else. I had to take a phone call. So I was pretty much talking. But I'm looking forward to this fight with Sean Porter, man. I'm not going to get into details on how, you know, Sean Porter comes up short with the big names. But I will be petty enough to say, you know, Sean Porter losing to Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence. For him to go in here, a lot of people are going to be saying, well, Terrence Crawford, he's going to pretty much render those same results with Sean Porter. He's going to go in there and fight his fight, man. He's a switch hitter. He's very open-ended when it comes to him giving different looks to Sean Porter. We've seen Sean Porter attempt to give a different look, and that different look is boxing vice brawling. You know what I'm saying? We're used to seeing Sean Porter chest to chest, head to head, inside, giving you that present pressure all the time, relentless pressure, always coming in shape, so to speak. But he can be predictable at times, especially to a technically skilled incline boxer as Terrence Crawford. He can be that dude. Terrence Crawford can be that dude when it comes to giving you a different look. He can fight orthodox or southpaw. He has power. People have to respect the fact that if someone knocks a fighter out within a 12-round fight and they're considered a top-tier fighter, then we have to respect that individual for getting a KO. Now, if it goes the distance, it's not going to be any more lack of respect for Terrence Crawford, because Sean Porter, he's not the kind of guy that goes in there and gets stopped. You know what I'm saying? He's not. Errol Spence was able to drop him, you know, and other times he was Adrian Bronner, you know, but who is Terrence Crawford the guy that's able to stop Sean Porter? Is he going to be the fighter that's able to step in there and give us something different? Will he have enough to go in there and stop the titanium helmet pugilist and Sean Porter? Can Terrence Crawford do it? Can he handle the pressure of Sean Porter? My answer is I truly believe he can. We seen Sean Porter turn Errol Spence at will when he felt like. Whenever he wanted to turn off the ropes, he did it. He stayed close to Errol Spence, sometimes smothering his own work, but yet he still put in quality offense. You know what I'm saying? He put in quality offense against Errol Spence, just as Errol Spence put in quality offense on Sean Porter. But what Errol Spence doesn't have that Terrence Crawford has is the ability to fight in either stance and be effective, y'all. And be effective. Bruce goes in the building. Salute my brother at World Combat Sports. Salute to Bruce, man. How you feeling today, man? It's Tuesday. You know what it is. Just one more day in the week, closer to the weekend. You know that's what we live for. We go to work thinking on a Monday, God damn it, when is Thursday coming up? You know what I'm saying? When is Friday coming up? The Texan says, shout out to the Texan on deck. Bud never makes it a close fight after the first 3 rounds since 140, in my opinion. What I can say to that, Texan, is Bud has stopped all his opponents at 147. No matter how you want to, throw mud, not you per se, but generalizing the scrutiny that's been placed on his opponents at welterweight. No matter how you want to damn throw mud on it, if you say his opponent's resume doesn't add up to Errol Spence, well, he did what he was supposed to do. Pretty much, Terrence Crawford stopped every opponent at welterweight. He stopped every opponent at welterweight. I say this all the time about Errol Spence. He was fighting at 54-47, 54-47 for the longest of time. Until he started to settle in to the welterweight division. And we take it for what it is, man. He was like 9-0 at welterweight. He's went the distance with certain individuals. But people are going to say, well, those top tier opponents, he went the distance with. Well, I look at it like he went the distance with Mikey Garcia, and Mikey never had a fight at welterweight. He went the distance with Danny Garcia, and Danny Garcia's style was tailor-made for Errol Spence. He went the distance with Sean Porter, who is not known to be stopped, so we'll give him that. I'm saying we'll give him that. But if you're going to throw mud on Terrence Crawford's resume and say that he was fighting bums in the welterweight division, well, he did what he needed to do with the bums. He finished them. It doesn't matter if it's in the first half of the fight or the second half of the fight. He finished them. Now the question is on deck. Will Terrence Crawford complete another knockout if he's to step in there with Showtime Sean Porter? Can he somewhat, send a little buzz through the boxing media, the boxing community, by going in there and being the first one to shut Sean Porter down with a knockout? Because like I said before, he stopped every opponent that he's fought at the 147-pound limit. Can he do that against Sean Porter? The Texans say, I get you. When everyone say Bud don't got power, I look back and remember he hasn't gone the distance since Postal. True? The year I graduated. Damn. Okay. You're a youngin'. All right, for sure. So, that is true words, man. And a lot of people believing that Postal was gonna, do this and that. to Terrence Crawford. But listen, when you're fighting on the elite level like these guys, you always subject to criticism. Always. You're always subject to criticism, man. And where Terrence Crawford has been in the company of Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, it seems like he's always been trying to prove that he's the best welterweight in the sport right now. You know what I'm saying? He's been always, it just seems like that has been a curriculum that people put out there, that they want to grade Terrence Crawford on who's on his resume. But they don't look at the fact that he's just coming off a spectacular stoppage of Kell Brook. And then they say he was washed up. But then World Combat Sports, I'll come up here and say, well, was he washed up when he was dropping back down from 54 to 47 after getting his head smashed by Gennady Golovkin? Was he washed up when Errol Spence got a hold of him? He didn't fight nobody in between Gennady Golovkin. He dropped back down and fought Errol Spence. And now I'm no way, shape, or form trying to minimize Errol Spence stoppage, but it wasn't like it was a one-way monologue. Errol Spence was taking punishment just as Kell Brook was taking punishment. And Errol Spence was the lone survivor, and he did what he had to do. I salute him for that. Errol Spence is a warrior regardless. Do I believe he can defeat Bud Crawford if they ever was to step through the ropes? Absolutely not. I don't think he can do it. And I'll stand on that and place myself at every corner of the square and defend my narrative. I just believe that Bud Crawford is a much more better fighter. You know what I'm saying? He has more options and variety when it comes to this professional boxing. But good point there, Texan. Douglas, what's good? Salute, man. On deck. Crawford got no chin, doesn't fight in the pocket. So I ask you this, Douglas, immediately. Find me a link that shows Terrence Crawford getting knocked the fuck out. Because we can just as well question the chin of Sean Porter. Because the last time I checked, Sean Porter's been on the canvas several times, right? We just can't sit up here and slam our fist on the table and say, he don't have a chin. Terrence Crawford don't have a chin. He don't have a chin just because Green Machine was able to do something. You know what I'm saying? Y'all hyping off Green Machine? Y'all hyping off an earlier fight in his career where he might have been hurt to the body? Come on now. Find me a link there, Douglas, where Terrence Crawford is laid out on the ground and explain to me why his record has an O on it, a 0. That's all I'm saying, bro. Respectfully. Texans say everyone will really stutter a bit about Canelo being permanently pound for pound if he stopped Porter. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because if he stops Porter, we have to take in consideration that it slides him up in that conversation, because it depends on where you look at certain times of the year, and that ESPN has Crawford as number 1. We know that shit, y'all. It depends on where you look, what time of the year. But we know damn well when you're talking about Rocky Fielding and Kovalov and Callum Smith and need I mention, don't even take this serious, but we knew Abner Yildirim wasn't going to make it. We knew he was in there just temporarily, man. He stopped in, showed his face, and then he was out, straight to the showers. They will have to take grave consideration. But the one thing about that Canelo fight, right? I mean, that Canelo pound for pound, is that we have no idea how the fight is going to play out between Canelo and Caleb Plant. So by the time Terrence Crawford steps in the ring, I kind of forgot when Canelo's supposed to fight. They're fighting the same month, though. when it comes down to Caleb Plant, Canelo Alvarez, and Terrence Crawford, Sean Porter. They fight in the same month, so we'll see how that plays out with the pound for pound voters and everything. Doesn't say Postal, nobody, North Thurman, Garcia, Porter. Crawford gonna get crushed. What fight? Once again, what fight have you seen? Crawford gets crushed. Don't become a troll. But what fight have you seen Terrence Crawford get crushed? Because last time I checked, his record is depicting an unblemished boxing record to this date. Terrence Crawford, as we know it, is 37 victories in with 0 defeats, hosting 28 by way of knockout. What fight did he get crushed? You know what I'm saying? Let me know. Cherry picking is so antiquated. We're talking about boxing. Do you see what's going on in boxing? You have mandatories not facing each other. What do they call? Cherry picking is a prehistoric language right now, because they used to say the same shit about Danny Garcia, but yet people jump on here and say, "Oh man, Danny Garcia has one of the best resumes in boxing." So come on, man. Elder Boxing in the building, on deck. Salute, man. Y'all definitely be sure to check out L-Dub, man. He be providing those, that information with the ranking systems, his awards, stand true to the game with his boxing knowledge, man. Be sure to subscribe to his channel. L-Dub, be sure to drop your link in there, man. Porter never been knocked out. Who said he did, man? Who said he did? But you saying, Terrence Crawford is going to get crushed, and he has a 0 on his box rec. He has a 0 next to the wins. In red, it says 0 KOs. So he hasn't lost. He's unblemished. Okay, if you say so. If you say so, I'll put your comment up there just for the audience. That's all. So when you say Terrence Crawford only true fight, only means you're basically narrowing it down and singling out that if he steps in there with Sean Porter, that'd be his true fight. But when he initially moved up to 147, he fought Jeff Horn, who in previous fights it came off a win against Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? And there was many people believing that Manny Pacquiao at his age now could step through the ropes and fight Terrence Crawford and win. Right? But Manny Pacquiao, in a sense, just lost to Yordenis Ugas, when a lot of people had Manny Pacquiao potentially going in there defeating Yordenis Ugas, right? But his legs was heavy. Oh, let's blame it on this personal trainer, whatever this dude was. His legs was heavy. So if Crawford came to the 147-pound division and fought Jeff Horn, the current reigning champion at the WBO level, then guess what? Man, give him his respect, man. He fought Jeff Horn, man. I don't give a damn if you didn't respect the Aussie, but he was holding a world title. And not only did Crawford beat Jeff Horn when he came to the 147-pound division, he still retained the title as we speak right now. He still is the WBO welterweight world champion. You're 65 years old, son. Well, I would expect at 65 years old for you to totally understand the words that you are injecting in your narrative, because you're basically looking at Terrence Crawford 37-0 record, and you're not even respecting it first and foremost. So I'm not sure why you're telling me your age. Have you been following boxing for at least 45 of those years? I give you 20 just to grow into life. I give you 20 just to grow into life. So at 45, will you fall in the sport of boxing? At 45, come on, man. I'm giving you 45 years. Have you been following the sport enough to understand what you're looking at to say that Terrence Crawford is going to get ran through and all this other stuff? Man, come on. He's a 3 division, dog. You got to respect that. Something tells me Thurman might sneak in and Ugas. If he wins, it'll be enticing for PBC to make a mega fight between him and Bud Porter, all while Spencer's recovering. Yeah, that can play out that way. But tell me this, Texan. Where the hell is Keith Thurman? He seemed to have went UA. In the Marines, we call that unauthorized absence. In the Army, they call it AWOL. Where has Keith Thurman went? You know, initially, you know, just several weeks before, he was up there saying, you know, Errol Spence need to fight me. You know, he was up here, he was talking his talk, and it was seeming like Keith Thurman was motivated to get back in the square real soon. You know what I'm saying? Real soon. And he's all but disappeared so far. Where is he at? It's going on October of 21. Where is Keith Thurman at? Who is he gonna fight? It'd be good to start 22 off with a Keith Thurman, Yordenis Ugas fight. I agree with that. Absolutely, I agree with that shit. It would be great to start 22 off with a Keith Thurman, Yordenis Ugas fight. Because as we know it, that used to be Keith Thurman's belt anyway. That used to be his belt anyway, before Pacquiao took it. You know what I'm saying? Yordenis didn't take it from Pacquiao. He just earned the defense against Pacquiao. Terrence Crawford took that belt from Jeff Horn. But that's a solid point, man, because all while Errol Spence, you know, is recovering, yes, it'll be good to put those names together, man. Good point there, Texan. You know what I'm saying? Keith Thurman, Yordenis Ugas, Terrence Crawford, Showtime Porter, link the winners of both of those together, and then they'll be set and ready because Errol Spence don't need a tune-up now. Errol Spence can come back and fight the lone survivor of those 3 fights. Terrence Crawford, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Yordenis Ugas, and then the winner of both fight each other, and then we get Errol Spence or whoever that is, which would be Bud Crawford. Then again, I'm hearing murmurs of Pacquiao want a rematch, of course. Yeah, you know, we heard Pacquiao with the heavy leg Pacquiao. If his shoulder wasn't fucking with him, you know what I'm saying? He was running away from Olympic style testing. Now his legs was heavy. Come on, bro. Y'all don't hold Pacquiao to shit. When I sit up here and say the man might have been, you know, on some pads a little bit in his career, people look at, not Pacquiao. No way, man. You're just hating. How can you hate on Pacquiao? But come on, man. How many excuses this dude is gonna? I hope to God he doesn't get a rematch. I don't want to see Pacquiao with a rematch, man. Have Pacquiao fight Mikey Garcia like they say they was gonna do. Mikey Garcia walking around here kicking rocks right now. Have him fight Pacquiao. A non-title fight. Because they're still trying to make Mikey Garcia a 5-division champion. Remember, I told you that several times. Mikey gonna hang around until he get that opportunity. Texan say I asked that too in 2018 when he was gonna fight Jesse Vargas. Yeah, man. We all know Jesse Vargas is somewhat of that filler. Jesse Vargas is a filler when it comes to boxing, man. D Hodges OG, what's good, man? On deck. What's up, World Combat Sports and Chat? Salute. Yeah, man, we can look at this entire roster right here. And there's some nice matchups in the welterweight division. But the disappointment is everybody wants to see 2 names. But now that Yordenis Ugas is in the mix, I wouldn't mind seeing, once Bud go in here and disperse of Sean Porter, I definitely wouldn't mind him stepping in there with Yordenis Ugas. Definitely, dog. Yes. Now we have Crawford putting Sean Porter on his resume, on his kill list, and then stepping in there with Yordenis Ugas for a championship fight, WBO against WBA. And of course, Terrence Crawford goes in there and disperses of Yordenis Ugas, and he sits patiently and wait for Errol Spence to come back off an injury because he don't need no tune-up. Let me see if he's gonna keep that same energy. If Crawford is sitting up here with the WBO and WBA title, to come back and say, you know what, let's make that fight. I don't need no tune-up. If he's gonna say that off a car accident, but yet he say he needs a tune-up, if Terrence Crawford is sitting there waiting, then we already know what it is, man. We already know what it is. We already know what it is. There's nothing else to be said, shout. Douglas, I don't know who you are, but nothing I said in here is talking down on you, man. But once again, my brother, if you're 65 years old, there's the link if you choose to, want to come up here and converse about boxing. It's all good, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Roll back through the live chat, spin the reel, roll back through the live chat and see where I was talking down on you. When people put their age in here, I never put my age on anything. I might say this and that, tell people, but I never reply to somebody when it comes to a comment to say, hey man, I'm 65 years old. If you got mad because I say I'm gonna give you 20, so have you been watching or tuned in to boxing for 45 years of that 65 years of prosperity? I know that couldn't hurt your feelings, bro. For you to be standing on your 2 feet that long and get offended by me telling you I'm gonna give you 20 years of not paying attention to boxing to get acclimated to life, and then 45 years to see if you've been watching boxing long enough to coincide with the comments she was making about Terrence Crawford facing his demise. Come on, man. How long have you been watching boxing, man? How long, bro? The man has no losses. Don't be telling me what not to do on my platform, man. I'm being very respectful. You know what I'm saying? If there's no vulgarity coming from me, then accept that shit, man. I'm grown too. It's the best time for Bud to start being that kid at the candy store. I know there's been a lot of back and forth about who Terrence Crawford may potentially sign to. And then once I hear that, I hear that he's going to stay with Top Rank. It's been some questionable business decisions that us as media, not just in the YouTube community, but on the mainstream, the old media too, that has questioned the moves he's made. But that's just not for me to speak on right now. I just hope if his contract is indeed expiring real soon, he signed with the promotion that can get him all the spotlight he needs moving forward to close out his boxing career. If it's PBC, I heard he was MTK Global. Man, come on, man. They be puppetizing the audience so much, man. We don't know what to fucking believe. Even the individuals that get these immediate pressers and these emails, and they go up here and do a live stream, a lot of that shit is not true. They just put media out for people to talk about, and then they switch it up on you. Terrence Crawford is 33 years old, man. I want him to sign with somebody that's going to be able to gas him forward to the right destinations. Get out, handle your business, jump back in, and keep on moving. That's what I want. I don't want no motherfucking delay. I don't want him fighting once a year. I want it to finally be said and done that, he's able to fight for undisputed at 47. After you go in there and beat Errol Spence, he become 2-division undisputed world champion. Yes, sir. Douglas, what you leaving for, bro? I dropped the link if you want to talk boxing. I mean, never seen you on my stream before. And if you subscribe to the channel, cool. Appreciate it. But 45 years, dude, I'm giving you 45 years. You say you're 65, I'm giving you 20 to acclimate to life, dog. And the other 45, I'm saying, have you been watching boxing that long? This is not a daycare. I've been on several panels by myself where I was there to dispute what they was talking about. I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? Things happen. People talk abrasively. You just have to go with the flow, man, and have thick skin there, Douglas. Moving on. Wish you the best too, bro. Salute to you. Moving on, though. I wish everything the best between Porter and Crawford. I'm looking forward to seeing Crawford go in there and give Porter the business with a capital B. Beat down, do it better than Spence did, and handle that business. You know what I'm saying? Keep his title and handle that business. That's what I'm looking for with Terrence Crawford. I'm looking for him to go in there and dominate. I'm looking for him to make it look just as easy as stepping in there with Kell Brook, because that's only gonna fuel the doubters that's out there that's saying that Errol Spence is better than Terrence Crawford. You know, they was talking earlier that, he needs to fight a common opponent. He needs to fight a common opponent. And that common opponent was in a lot of conversations Sean Porter, y'all. You know I'm telling the truth. People's like, he got to fight a common opponent. He need to fight Sean Porter. They was up there looking like Sean Porter outside of Danny Garcia was the gatekeeper. Like, they only start really talking that talk now that Danny Garcia was beat up for 12 rounds. Now they putting that label on Sean Porter. Because if you look at Sean Porter, he's lost to 3 champions in the welterweight division. Is it going to be difficult for him to take a 4th L, stepping there with a champion as Terrence Crawford? You know I'm telling the truth now. He was able to win for the vacant WBC title that used to be Keith Thurman's, right? Didn't Sean Porter fight Keith Thurman when he had that WBC strap? Didn't he? I'm just saying. Sean Porter's about to go in here, take this L, and go right back to wearing his freaking St. Patrick's Day leprechaun suits, putting black stylists back 50 to 60 years with his fashion design. You know what I'm saying? His fashion choices. He's going to go right back to commentating with a suit on, because I think that is his primary interest right now for Sean Porter. Being in front of the camera, having his starlight, being able to talk his shit and make money. Sean Porter is becoming a prima donna, man. I've seen it firsthand with Sean Porter. He's coming a prima donna, man. I didn't say he was a bad person. I just said when it comes down to it, he's becoming a prima donna. You really can't, talk to him. Now that he got his podcast and everything, he just want to make it seem like that he's unapproachable unless, you're on the same level of media that's covering him You know, the mainstream media. Sean Porter ain't showing that love like that. The Texan Either Network it is. They're still getting my money too for that fight. Yeah, I'll line that up. Check the box. I'm paying for that fight. Also, I'm gonna make some rounds to some of my people who I know going heavy. You know what I'm saying? They'll go heavy for Sean Porter in that fight because they just don't like Terrence Crawford. That's how it is. They'll go heavy for Sean Porter. Do you really want to see Sean Porter and Errol Spence again? No. Regardless, do we really want to see Sean Porter, Yordenis Ugas, if by chance he was to get that WBO? I mean, how long would it take for Sean Porter to step back in the ring with Yordenis Ugas? Would Sean Porter select Ugas or would he select Errol Spence? Because we all know damn well that a more easier fight for Sean Porter, in the public's opinion, would be Ugas. It don't matter how he looked in the first fight. A more easier fight would be against Ugas because Sean Porter go in there and fight him differently. Yes, sir. He would definitely step through the ropes and fight Ugas differently than he did the first time. But that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna never happen because he's definitely not going in there defeating Terrence Crawford. Let's just get that understood, revise, and press send on that bitch. He's not going in there defeating Terrence Crawford. Period. Let me read a little bit more on this Crawford Porter title fight set for November 20th at Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas. They're talking about terms was reached in time to cancel a purse bid hearing scheduled to take place noontime today in Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Crawford will attempt the fifth defense of the WBO welterweight title he acquired in the 9th round knockout of unbeaten. Let's not forget, Jeff Horn was unbeaten Jeff Horn in June 2018. The supremely gifted switch hitting boxer puncher. Look at that. Look how they damn word shifting in this motherfucker. Look at that shit. The gifted switch hitting boxer puncher from Omaha, Nebraska, who turns 34 later this month, is coming off a 4th round knockout of former welterweight titleist Kell Brook last November at MGM Grand Conference Center in Las Vegas. That's what it is, man. I'm trying to find out some important tidbits rather than reading this whole article. So now the big question is how much this fight will be promoted. Despite the union between ESPN Plus and Fox Sports for Fury Wilder, as well as Fury Wilder 2, Fury Wilder 3, as well as Fury Wilder 2. No such plans were on the table to present Crawford Porter in the same fashion. The reason why this is being mentioned, y'all, is that Terrence Crawford is signed with Top Rank and Porter PBC. Moving on, ESPN will produce and distribute its first boxing PPV event on its own since April 2019, when Crawford stopped former junior welterweight titleist Amir Khan inside of 6 rounds at Madison Square Garden in New York City, which is a fight that I was sitting in the stands watching when Amir Khan was getting his ass whooped and he quit. 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 Surrendered. No mas. King Mitch on deck. What's good with you, man? Might look into that bet too. I got a heavy pick on Plant, but I do remember everyone picking Porter too comfortably. Porter will select Ugas, easier unification for him. Plus, Ugas wants the payback. Yeah, I can see that, man. I mean, I hope Ugas will want the payback because the way he looked in there against Sean Porter, he looked damn good. Ugas looked damn good in there against Sean Porter. So of course he would definitely want that PB. It's all about if Porter, I don't know, man. Porter would have no choice at this point in his career not to consider Ugas to run it back. You know what I'm saying? That would be his priority because once again, we don't know what the timeline is for Errol Spence to return. Bomac will most likely have a rematch clause for Crawford, though. I don't know, man. I look at it this way, Mitch. When I pick a fighter, I just go off what I believe is going to happen. Who's going to win doesn't mean I'm going to be absolutely 100% right. But it's no need for Bomac to have a rematch clause in this because Sean Porter ain't beating Terrence Crawford. I'm just saying, dog. Bomac can save the black print. There's no need to have a rematch. Like, I take that back. I have to understand that the way boxing has been fucking over fighters in championship fights and shit like that, I take that back, Mitch. He may need a rematch clause because Crawford might goddamn be in that ass for 12 rounds and win a unanimous decision and those who public viewed the fight, and then the judges come back and give it to damn Sean Porter because he's working as a commentator. Seriously. They might show him some different type of treatment just so we can get a 2-for-1 special until Spence come back. You know what I'm saying? Give Crawford his first loss and then come back for a rematch. And the fight will be even bigger. Because now, if Porter beats Crawford, people definitely want to see him step back in there with Crawford in the rematch. Definitely. But like I said before, Bomac don't need to waste his time on the rematch. Porter ain't beating Crawford. Mitch, you just stepped to the live chat and you are talking about an undefeated Jeff Horn, bro. An undefeated Jeff Horn, man. Undefeated, reigning, defending welterweight world champion when he stepped in there with Terrence Bud Crawford. And you're going to sit up here and be disrespectful and say he ain't shit at the time? Now, I don't know if you were saying he ain't shit now or at the time he stepped in there with Crawford. But right now, I checked the box on that shit. But when I hear so many times people saying, oh, Terrence Crawford fought Jeff Horn. He ain't shit. He was a bum. Well, that same bum was in there with Manny Pacquiao. And people wasn't saying that shit. Oh, man, Jeff Horn, he roughed up Manny Pacquiao. He looks strong. People better watch the fuck out. And then when Crawford stops him, he's a bum. We have to stop that. At this moment, I am sending out a PSA to each and every one. You have to stop that. You have to stop dogging out my boy Bud Crawford. You have to stop sitting up here, filtering through his resume and treating it like lint. We will, at this moment, put respect on Terrence Crawford's name, shouty. Because the man is still undefeated. Not only that, he has stopped every one of his opponents, Mitch, at welterweight division. Every one of them. Sharkin said, I just see Porter headed toward retirement. At the least, I still see Porter as the number 1 or 2 gatekeeper to the elite at 147. Totally agree with a portion of that, except I don't know who's the first gatekeeper. I see him as a gatekeeper right now because he's lost to 3 champions at the welterweight division. Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence. Who is the first gatekeeper? Danny Garcia? I think that's the only person we can put up as a gatekeeper. But every now and then the gatekeepers have to get a win. You know what I'm saying? We cannot say Danny Garcia isn't a gatekeeper because he went in there and stopped Adrian Granados. Come on, man. I mean, come on now. We knew bad things was gonna happen with the way Adrian Granados fights with the mentality of the fist of fury. We all know that shit was gonna come to a screeching halt against Danny Garcia. That's tailor-made. Adrian Granados' style is tailor-made for someone like Danny Garcia. But also Danny Garcia's style was tailor-made for Errol Spence, who battered Danny Garcia. Had Danny Garcia looking like he's headed straight to the ER for treatment, as in Mikey Garcia first fight, he steps in there and he went to the showers and went to the club after the fight. Take me to the dealership. I think I'm gonna go purchase a new car. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Mikey Garcia didn't even need a Band-Aid or nothing. But Danny Garcia looked like he was close to having an eye transplant. They asked him a question in the post-fight. Just let my dad answer. Just let my dad answer. You know, I'll just get back to it in social media once I heal up. Just let my pops answer it. Jeff Horn ain't shit at no time. This has nothing to do with how I feel about Crawford as a fighter. Horn ain't shit. Never was, never will be. Ain't no knock towards Crawford. He's legit. Well, you know, I look at it like this, Mitch, and you know, respect what you said. I look at it like this. If you're saying that at Jeff Horn never been shit though, but he had to be shit to step in there with Pacquiao. If you're gonna say Jeff Horn ain't shit, then you have to say boxing ain't shit, because we have matchups all the time where we may not like both fighters, but that's who's in line per whoever the matchmakers are and the promoters, right? So when we truly come to a conclusion that Jeff Horn was the reigning defending WBO welterweight champion when Crawford moved up and he wanted to fight for the WBO strap, he was successful at going in there stopping Jeff Horn. You can't say he ain't shit when he stepped in there with Crawford. He was the champion, dog. He was the world champion, dog. He was absolutely, he had some type of Wall Street to his name at that point. He was the reigning champion, dog. Crawford just went in that shit and made it look easy. Look, I still remember when people was like, you see what he did to Pacquiao? He was rough. He's too strong for Terrence. He's too strong for Terrence. Terrence gonna have to dig deep for the Aussie. They're gonna have to dig deep for the Aussie. That's what they were saying. And he went in there and stopped that man. Some say Danny Garcia has a great resume, but he is a gatekeeper also now. I agree with that. Danny Garcia does have a good resume. He does. But he never beat a champion at welterweight there, Sir Ken. He never beat a champion. He has a solid resume, but Danny Garcia never defeated a champion for the belt at welterweight. When he initially came to welterweight division, he fought for a vacant WBC title against Robert Guerrero. He was able to defeat the Ghost and move on about his life. And we all know where that title went. At one time, I thought Keith Thurman was just going to make that sweep and do what the fuck he wanted to do. And then, you know, we all seen what happened. Errol Spence defeats Kell Brook and start calling out Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman become a deaf mute. I want to fight Keith Thurman. I can't hear him. Keith Thurman, somehow, some way, man, he went deaf. Errol Spence was calling this man out on TV, live TV, and he wouldn't respond to him. But as I will say, it all comes down to the now. And that now is We don't know what the fuck Keith Thurman is doing. Like I think Texan mentioned earlier, it'd be good if Keith Thurman can fight Yordenis Ugas, because that did, in fact, used to be his belt, the WBA strap. And then, what in the meantime, let's just say Keith Thurman wins that strap from Ugas. It will be another damn good fight to see Terrence Crawford face Keith Thurman, another former champion in the welterweight division. People would definitely won't say anything then, because if he's able to fight Keith Thurman, who's coming back off a rebound win off Ugas, then we have to blend in all that shit. Ugas defeating Pacquiao, who defeated Keith Thurman. So if Keith Thurman comes in there and defeat Ugas and steps in there with Terrence Crawford, all the validity that is needed will be in that fight with Keith Thurman, because now Terrence Crawford has a former unified champion on his resume, along with Sean Porter and along with Kell Brook. So the conversation will not be, well, look at Errol Spence. Errol Spence ain't fought Manny Pac. Errol Spence ain't fought Keith Thurman. Terrence Crawford fights Sean Porter. Yeah, they got a common opponent. They also have Kell Brook as a common opponent. But I exclude Kell Brook because Kell Brook was beat the fuck up when he fought Errol Spence. So he comes down 3 fights at 154 and steps in there with Bud Crawford, and they say, oh, he's washed up. He washed up. What was he when he was coming off a battering, a brutish demise against Gennady Golovkin at 54? What was that? You cannot tell me people have all of a sudden come medical experts and saying that he was 100% healed internally from taking that motherfucking beating. So if you're going to diminish, you're going to diminish from both sides of the spectrum. You're going to diminish the fact that he's been fighting at 54 and dropping back down to 47, and he looked drained at the weigh-ins, and he just wasn't there for Crawford. But yet you got to say for Errol Spence, he came in that off a brutal beating from Gennady Golovkin, man. Come on, man. Come on. Stop. But I hear you there, Mitch. My opinion only comes from how Porter and Garcia has performed in championship fights, for show. Check the box, for show. Check the box on that, Sir Ken, for real. Mitch say losing to Crawford does not make Porter a gatekeeper. No, it doesn't make him a gatekeeper, because he's already a gatekeeper, Shouty. Sean Porter's a gatekeeper right now. How do you become a gatekeeper? A gatekeeper fight the ones who's looking to be on the championship level, or they themselves are trying to get back to the championship level, right? So Sean Porter can be a gatekeeper just for the fact that he still has a reputable name to step in there with high-profile fighters, or have those who are attempting to be on Sean Porter's level fight Sean Porter to get to the next step to fight one of the elite champions or one of the elite names at the welterweight division. Now, of course, I can't really say that when he lost to Kell Brook, that made him a gatekeeper. I can't say that. But then he comes in here and he loses to Keith Thurman. Gatekeeper, in my opinion, doesn't mean that you're losing and you can't win the big fights. It's a portion of that bleeds over to his name still having some Wall Street value to fight other names who are looking to put Sean Porter on their resume. So a gatekeeper can be an assistant to the lower tier names moving up to that higher platform. And who better to pick Danny Garcia or Sean Porter? Now, of course, you have to somewhat win. You know what I'm saying? The challenger has to win. They have to start defeating the Sean Porters and Danny Garcias. And that's what it's become like. You know, Danny Garcia losing to Errol Spence, man. I'm like, Man, that was a filler, man. He's coming off a car accident. He beats the shit out of Danny Garcia, man. I'm like, it wasn't nothing swift about that fight when it comes to DSG. Period. Sean Porter goes in here and lose against another champion. He's gonna have a keychain dangling from his hip for real. Because I don't see him unifying the welterweight division ever. I don't see Porter moving up to 54. Even though Danny Garcia has made mention of it. How fucked up will it be for Danny Garcia to move up to 54 and do something different and attempt to become three division champion, and Porter chooses just stay at welterweight and fight mid-tier to high-tier fighters? Who's going to be left? Porter goes in there and loses to Crawford. Who's going to be left? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to be left? He stepped back in there again with Ugas. It's no need. Ugas don't have to return the favor to Sean Porter and fight him because he's the WBA world champion right now. He doesn't have to do that. Ugas and his team definitely is talking about bigger fights at the end of the day. Bigger fights are bigger risk. So it'll be behoove them to make the correct decision to get that paycheck and fight somebody like a Crawford for unification. Because, you know, Ugas is going to make good money and pretty much Terrence Crawford will too. We definitely don't want to see Pacquiao Ugas too. We definitely don't want to see that shit. Just like I don't want to see Ugas Porter too. Brook wasn't washed up when he fought Spence. Maybe wounded from a Triple G. He was most certainly washed versus Crawford though. Hell no, man. Hell no. Just because you step out in the rain and you drenched a little bit don't mean you washed. You know what I'm saying? The man did not lose. Kell Brook did not lose once after his fight with Errol Spence. Then he go undefeated. He had 3 wins at 54, didn't he? I don't care who he fought, but didn't he have 3 wins? He had 3 wins, right? But how long did it take? How long in between time? Him dropping down from Gennady Golovkin to face Errol Spence, another tough fighter at a lower weight. How long did that happen? Was he fully healed when he stepped in there? I don't care what the doctors say. Do you believe that he was fully healed? Because we know if they want to fight, those doctors in boxing will say, oh, yeah, he's cool. And a fighter may be experiencing some bullshit, maybe seeing dots, lights, and all that shit, and still get approved for a fight. Look at Israel Vasquez. Israel Vasquez is walking around with one eye right now because he was approved to continue fighting when his eye wasn't truly healed. It wasn't totally healed yet. So he went back into the fray to fight and took punishment with that eye and took punishment. And now he's walking around with one less eye. Come on, man. And the definition of wash, Mitch, it is different. Wash to me is basically they're done. They have minimal to zero value as being competitive. And I don't look at it that way for real. Because I'm not saying he was washed against Errol Spence. I'm just saying he was damaged. So if washed blends in with damage as an equal terminology, then maybe we're on the same sheet of music. I mean, maybe I'm on the same sheet of music to say, you know what, he was damaged, he was washed, same thing. But washed to me is that Kell Brook was no longer a competitive fighter. And we can't say that because he did go to 54 and win. I look at Porter as a title contender right now. So Mitch, you look at Porter as a title contender. Did you look at him as a title contender when he stepped in there to defend his WBC belt against Errol Spence? He was a title contender then. He's a title contender then. Was he a title contender when he went in there and fought Sebastian Formella and just moved around with him and didn't even try to hurt that cat? Come on, dog. Come on, Mitch. We know Porter is a title gate contender. That's what he is. He lose to champions, dog. What champion, along with his boy Garcia, what champion, right? As of recent, what champion has Porter defeated in his division? We got to define gatekeeper. Yeah, I mean, gatekeeper is always that word that has a large selective meanings to it. You know what I'm saying? A plethora of definition that goes along with it. Depends on who you're speaking on. It depends on, you know, the criteria that is associated with that name that we're speaking on when it comes to gatekeepers. They are gatekeepers to the elite. Check both their losses. Yes, sir. That's a good point, man. That's a good point. Like when it comes to gatekeepers, it's all about who are they keeping. Are they there to basically be the mediators for the mid-tier fighters attempting to put Sean Porter on their resume to fight a high-tier fighter? And then you can have a gatekeeper just like Sir Ken just mentioned. He can be a gatekeeper to the champions, to the top ranked fighters. Because of his resume and everything. You know, they can say, oh, fight Sean Porter. They were saying that shit about Terrence Crawford. Oh, fight Sean Porter. Sean Porter's been in there with Kell Brook, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence. That's who that's who Terrence Crawford need to fight next. He need to fight Sean Porter. And let's see how he does against Sean Porter. And then we can talk about, you know, making the Errol Spence fight. That's what they were saying, man. Charlo Castano would have to drop all the belts and leave 54 for them to have a chance. One of them lands on a Liam Smith caliber opponent. Then Porter or Danny would safely win a title again. Yeah, I mean, when they disperse those titles, I don't know what the plan is for Castano, but dude can bang. He can bang. Mel Charlo can bang. What is their compass though? What do we know about their boxing compass? Where are they headed? I would definitely like to see a changing of the guard at 54, being that I don't know if we ever going to see that fight again, so to speak. I don't know if Mel Charlo is going to be asking. If I was Mel Charlo and I already had one loss against Tony Harrison, I'd definitely be asking for that Castano fight again. Fuck it. They want to praise Derek James for being trainer of the year, trainer of the year, trainer of the year. Well, guess what? If you really that life, well, you really the trainer of the year because you have two unified champions in your stable signed to fight Brian Castano again, shouty. Because you have to go back to the drawing board and first of all, have a sit down with Mel Charlo and ask him one question. This time in the rematch, are you going to listen to what I was telling you? Are you going to listen? First and foremost, are you going to listen? Oh, you are? Okay, cool. All right. Let me go talk to some people and see can we get this rematch. You assure me you're going to listen this time, right? You're not going to lose your wits because you're taking punishment and goddamn Castano is bringing in the grenades front and center. He's unloading the clip on your ass. You good, right? All right, cool. You know, if you're going to go around here screaming and yelling, talking about Derek James is this, that, and the other, well, he should be able to have the knowledge to spin that reel back and get Charlo prepared for a rematch with Brian Castano. If Charlo don't want that rematch, bro, it's very, very disappointing to say the least. It is. You want to be undisputed, right? Undisputed at 54 looks way better than you being unified. And you didn't want to step in there for a rematch against Castano. Come on, man. This line's lonely, right? This line's lonely, right? I don't want to hear nobody jump on this and talk about, well, you know, the Charlos, they still, I never said they weren't competitive. Washed is relative. He was a champ when he beat Formella. Yes, he was. But why move around with Formella like he did for 12 there, Mitch? Why move around with him? Destroy that cat and send him about his way. Stop being nice and just competing to the level of your competition. Stop playing with your food. We already know what type of chef Sean Porter is. We know he can go in there and burn some shit up. We know he can go in there and cook some shit too. That's Sean Porter's aggressive nature. But don't go in there and play around with an appetizer. Come on, man. He know he could have went in there and destroyed Formella. Nobody fights often enough to really know how they will perform in their next fight. Yeah, we're basically settled into understanding that fighters, man, with big names fight twice a year at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it'll be hard pressed for us to believe that fighters will fight 3 times a year, man. So you definitely check the box on that, Bruce. Real talk. With the addition to the elite, maybe the statement holds true to the elite and gatekeeper are 2 totally different things, though. I think there's 2 sides to gatekeepers, though. The gatekeeper, the way it used to be, was individuals who was attempting to fight the top ranked people, but they fight fighters who used to be the elite, so to speak. They used to be the elite, but they're still highly rated, top ranked. And they are individuals who can allow that up and coming name to fight them just to get to that next status. You know what I'm saying? Virgil Ortiz, he hasn't fought a gatekeeper yet. Like, it'll be good to see Virgil Ortiz fight somebody like Danny Garcia, because he beats Danny Garcia in similar to worse fashion than Errol Spence. Then people are gonna be looking at Virgil Ortiz like, okay, cool. You know, you withstand the power of Danny Garcia. Okay, cool. He's legit. Let's go. He didn't get that status. I don't consider Maurice Hooker a gatekeeper at all. Maurice Hooker hurt his hand in that fight, so I don't see Maurice Hooker a gatekeeper at all. You know what I'm saying? But good point, man. If that's the case, all these dudes gatekeepers to Spence and Crawford. The only one that I say that's not a gatekeeper to Spence and Crawford will be Ugas out of the champions. The reason being, he was, first of all, gifted a title. All right. Vesputin popped. They moved Ugas in place, and then they moved him in place to get that WBA super title once they wasn't going to reinstate Manny Pacquiao. The only one out of those champions that Ugas has stepped in there with is Sean Porter. We would have liked to see Keith Thurman step in there with Ugas, Errol Spence, or Terrence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? So let's just, who's next in line? We get the same names at the welterweight division. We have Danny Garcia. He's no longer, in my opinion, he's no longer No, I'm just going to reserve that before I even say it. Because Danny Garcia, even though he lost terribly to Spence, if someone like Virgil Ortiz beats Danny Garcia, they're going to boost his name up again. They're going to say, oh, he got Danny Garcia on his resume. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Danny Garcia still, I can agree with Mitch on that. I can agree with you on that Danny Garcia is still a gatekeeper to Spence and Crawford. I agree with that. I agree with that. But it's not too many dudes when you're talking about gatekeepers, unless you're going to include Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, because these dudes can lose and they still stay up floating around at the top 3 in the welterweight division. I mean, come on, bro. When are you going to drop down and shit? The Castano-Charlo rematch should have been signed already. It's become a forgotten thought the more time goes by. Yes, sir. And you know who I put the culpability on that there, Bruce? I put the culpability on Charlo for not really, stepping up to a whole nother level to say it was a tough fight and attaching a rematch, immediate rematch. So I want to get right back in the motherfucking fire, dog. You already look. It's not like he's Maul Charlo. Maul Charlo still has an unblemished record. But Mel Charlo, in a sense, has faced adversity. He knows what it's like right now. He totally understands it. So him stepping back in there with Brian Castano, now that people totally enjoyed that fight, man, come on, man. It's only the right thing to do with Mel Charlo. Step right back in there immediately and face this man. Face your most competitive opponent to date. If you hurt Brian Castano in the second round, and he was able to hurt you, I mean, that equals out, man. Just like Bruce said, the more the time go by with this shit, people are gonna start trying to phase that motherfucker out. Now let's talk about it. Why isn't Charlo so eager to step back in there with Brian Castano? Undisputed is a dying term. Yes, sir. Undisputed is according to where you look, though, because no, I'll take that back. It's controversy, even though I say it's undisputed. There, Bruce, it is dying. It's on life support. It depending on where you look. If you compare all the divisions that exist currently in boxing, then we look at the junior welterweight and say, okay, they was able to do it. They was able to make that shit happen. Easy. Jose Ramirez, Josh said they was able to make that shit happen. Then we look at the 154 pound. That could have very well been undisputed. That could have very well been undisputed, man. I believe Castano did enough to take those belts from Charlo. So we have to wait on that. What about the middleweight division? They're nowhere close to being undisputed. You know what I'm saying? What about the light heavyweight division? There's no need to even go to heavyweight. That's so far from being undisputed. Let's drop back down to lightweight division. Lightweight division is close. I say Teofimo is undisputed because WBC chose to insert the franchise belt, right? That was their doing. They did it for Canelo and said a fighter has to petition, but there was no fighter before Canelo to petition anything. They just set Canelo up to do what the fuck he wanted to get off that WBC strap. So in reality, in my opinion, Teofimo is undisputed, but the WBC belt is still holds the authority, which has basically been diluted by the president when it comes to Devin Haney. So I can't sit up here and continue to booster inject prominence in the WBC super title when the WBC president refusing to do so himself. What about 130? We're so far from an undisputed with Oscar Valdez popping dirty. And then you have Colbert. He's fighting for the WBO title vacated by Gervonta. And then you have Stevenson Herring, who's fighting for the WBO. whatever's going on with the IBF. It's so far from being undisputed. But we do have hope now. We do have hope. Skipping over featherweight with the super bantamweight division. We do have hope. Potentially, we may have hope. We may have hope at the bantamweight division. If you're a top 5 in the division, you are disqualified from being a gatekeeper. Top 5 in the division. Top 5 in the division. There's only 4 champions in the division, Mitch, right? I'm talking about without the bullshit. We're talking about 4-belt era, right? So let's just say it's 4 champions in this division, right? So you take the 4 champions in the division, and let's just say the 5th one is high rank, but the 5th one is incapable of defeating any of the currently reigning defending champions that's in that division. Don't they become a gatekeeper? So if you have the number 1 contenders or the mandatories or whatever the case may be, and the shit don't happen, and they fight somebody else that's a high rank in that division, let's say it's number 5. Doesn't that number 5 provide some credence to being a gatekeeper? I'm just saying. What's your take on that? The fighter is the king, not the belts. I wish everybody looked at it like that, Bruce. But in this day and time, man, when it comes down to recognition of a fighter, people don't want to give them their glory, like they're roses, man, unless they've won a belt. Like you can be in a situation for an extensive period of time and be considered one of the elite fighters skill-wise. But if you don't have a strap, a legitimate strap, not an interim title, not a friend, not a all those other 3rd-tier titles, not the regular title holder. But I'm just saying, until you get a strap, people will look at you as being individuals that's done enough to get what they need to be, but yet they can't become a super champion. You know what I'm saying? They can't sit up here and win the big prize. That's where boxing's at right now. Boxing is very spoiled. The boxing audience is very shifty when it comes to just giving fighters their just due and recognition. It has totally changed. As a fighter, man, you absolutely have to come up with a whole nother game plan to earn the respect of your fans and to gain new fans. Like this social media shit is bull. It's bullshit from left and right, front to back. Because we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. We truly, if you really want to listen to what I said about this previously several times, if a fighter truly had 8 million followers that supported them and donated to them periodically, they wouldn't have no problem surviving in boxing and outside of boxing. They can fight once a year, long as those freaking subscribers and those followers support them, they're fine. 8 million. Seeing those followers and people talk about so-and-so bringing followers to it is full of shit. Because when those individuals go live and they have 8 million followers on IG, but yet you barely see them peaking out at 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. You have 8 million followers, but you only peak out at like 2,500, 3,000 once you do a live. That doesn't make any sense to me. That absolutely makes zero sense. I cannot take it serious when we look at how many followers somebody have on Twitter, IG, how many subscribers they have on YouTube. Hey, it's been a pleasure, y'all. I have to go take care of some business right quick. So it's been a pleasure. Appreciate the ones who dropped through, the ones who was in the live chat dropping that fire. Appreciate y'all for responding, checking in with World Combat Sports, man. You know, participate with the live chat, man. Until next time, I'm out.